What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? You are listening to the Data is My Science podcast, the show that makes data a passion. I am your host, Dapper Data. Once again, I have brought somebody on here that is going to blow your mind, right? I like to keep it short and concise. He's going to drop a lot of knowledge on you all, so take notes. Take notes as soon as you can, right? Bring out the notepad, bring out the pen, take notes. It's going to be about 15 to 20 minutes of good knowledge that's being dropped right now. Now, we've talked about artificial intelligence. We delved deep into it, right? We talked about supervised learning, unsupervised learning. The audience has been everywhere from novice to advanced. We talked about autonomous vehicles. We even had a conversation around people who are not even technical and how they use data to make every decision that they make on a regular basis. You know, and so it's been very interesting this journey, right? For about 2 years, it's been an interesting journey, but data is it. Data is definitely going to be something that is probably in every industry if it's not already there. And I brought a special person on here to talk about artificial intelligence and how it's quietly improving that management of data process, right? Including its quality, accessibility, security, right? We're going to talk about the resources portion and how AI is actually diving into that and probably changing the world from that aspect. I brought here William Mcknight. Say what's up, William.
Hey everybody, William Mcknight here.
Yeah. So William McKnight has been recognized as the number one global influencer in big data, cloud, and data center by Thinkers 360, and the number one global influencer in master data management by On Atlantica in 2022. With over 30 years of experience, William is also highly sought after speaker who has spoken on 4 continents for a diverse collection of organizations. And I laugh because I'm thinking, man, that is such a tremendous thing that he's done, right? I just wish I can get to that level. So I can't wait till one day, I can get to that point where I could be able to influence so many people around the world and on multiple continents as well. But the collection of organizations include IBM, Microsoft, Oracle, Bank of America, Orange, South Africa, and SAP. So William, thank you for being on here. Tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, that's a great summary. I've spent a career in enterprise data. I have a passion for it. I've done many different roles around enterprise data. So I've been in product development at IBM over a product called DB2, which is a leading database still then and now. And I've just sort of evolved with the time. So I spent some time in IT, vice president of IT at a large insurance company. And then I broke out on my own about 25 years ago into consulting. And I'm still doing that now. And during that time, I've had the privilege of having some really great high profile clients that have had some really complex situations, involving their data. And I think a lot of complex situations inside of enterprises really do have to do with their data and getting their data under control. And sometimes they recognize it is that, and sometimes they don't. But when they do, somebody like myself, can really help them out. So we've served a lot of industries that way. And I also spend quite a bit of time as an industry analyst doing things like this podcast, things like, webinars for vendors and benchmarks and white papers and all sorts of creative things like that to help get the word out about those vendors that have great value propositions.
No, William, that's amazing because what you're doing is making an impact on the data community from every aspect, and that's to me, that's a gift, right? That's something that you have the ability to do and are educating. You're in the education industry essentially, right? And
Yeah.
you're really being informative to everybody when it comes down to that. And even building things like the McKnight Consulting Group that you have done, right? Something like that is phenomenal because what you're doing is being able to as you mentioned on your website, right? You're providing that strategy, that implementation to make the data a competitive asset, right? And being experts in so many different areas regarding that data management platform. Let's talk a little bit about the McKnight Consulting Group. Let's dive into that a little bit because um, you know what you're doing is impacting the world in many ways, right? Because you're global. You're not just focused on your own state or city. You know, you are actually impacting the world in many ways. How are you impacting the world with the McKnight Consulting Group?
Well, we do all the things that I mentioned before. Okay, so we have all these clients, and one thing I love about consulting in general is that when we arrive, we're ushered, maybe virtually now, but virtually or physically, we're ushered right into the room where all the key decisions are being made about the
Mhm.
company's future. And so we get right into it, and we've been able to dive in deep into how all these companies in different industries function. And yeah, I'm in the education business, but I'm also in the learning business. And
Yeah.
I learned so much. I've learned so much about all these different industries, how they work, pharmaceuticals, telecom, retail, consumer goods, definitely finance and healthcare. We've done a lot of work in all those industries. And so there's definitely some crossover, but
Mhm.
industries do work in certain ways, and of course, the bigger the industry, the more that is true. And so, anyway, we
Yeah.
have got to learn so much about all these industries and help them out with what they're trying to do, whether they say it or not, is they're trying to become data driven, become driven
Mhm.
by the data. And as you mentioned, we're moving into artificial intelligence. Well, in order to do that, you have to be able to access your data. You have to
Yeah.
be able to trust the data. It needs to be clean. It needs to be what we call governed, and it
Mhm.
needs to be well performing, and various other things, really. And what we stand for is great architecture, because there's no one size fits all. There's no one data warehouse for everybody that just put your data in here and everything will work out. There's a variety of vehicles that make sense. And so I've had to become knowledgeable about all these vehicles that make sense, and make sure that they're in place doing the right thing for the clients, as well as they're integrated and they're working together. Sharing data is appropriate, but getting data into the right vehicles, one of the things that we're all about.
No, that's amazing. And so you work with, I mean, you mentioned healthcare, pharmaceutical companies, things like that. So you got Pfizer, right? United Health Group that you work with, Dell, Oracle. So you work with some of the vendors, right? You've been in the mix in so many different aspects. And with the McKnight Consulting Group, what would you say? I have two questions, right? What would you say?
Mm.
One is the um, probably the number one thing with on all that. That's probably the most important when you decide to have that conversation with those folks, right? Those big companies like Pfizer and things like that, right? You know, because and I'm only asking this because I know you mentioned that you deal with master data management, and oh my goodness, I mean that right there is an important aspect of every company. And I'm pretty sure there's so many people that don't really have that master data management aspect, right? You know, I mean, what would you say is the most important piece when dealing with a lot of those companies that you've dealt with?
Well, believe it or not, I'm going to say I like to make sure that the executives and the management structure is aligned with this idea of how important data is, and aligned with becoming data
Important.
driven, and supports the efforts of the data team and us, to try to align the data with the objectives of the company. Because I haven't met a company objective yet that isn't fully solved, if not just supported through enterprise data and increasing the maturity of enterprise data. We hear a lot about digital transformation today. And as I peel that back, it almost always comes down to more data maturity inside of that
Mhm.
enterprise. And so that's what we're all about, is growing the data maturity, using the elegant modern techniques around, getting data where it needs to be, when it needs to be there, in the shape that it needs to be, you know. And today, one of the big initiatives is getting that data ready for artificial intelligence. So, what's one thing I do? I don't know if I do one thing, but one thing I will do is ask about company objectives, try to
Yeah.
align the management with the fact that data supports those company objectives.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I literally have just learned that. So I grew up focused on the technical before the business aspect of things, right? And that's probably typically how you see the typical engineer, data scientist kind of growing into things. But in order to be involved with data and to help businesses change and make data driven decisions, you have to know business objectives, right? And
Yeah,
that's something
yeah.
that you're talking about. I mean, I'm pretty sure that that's who who cares, right? About whether you're using Python or R to get it done, or you use an Excel
Yeah,
spreadsheet, right?
yeah,
You know,
right.
it starts to make sense, a lot more sense. If you could balance between the two, I'm sure that you could be sort of like a god within data science, right? If you could balance between the two objectives, do
You're
you
so
see
right.
that
So right.
that is the most important piece when speaking with people with the company?
Quite important. And it's I'm an engineer, but it's something that a lot of engineers don't want to deal with. They don't want to deal with the
Right.
people side of things, organizational change management, aligning the technical work with the business objectives, and what's the ROI on this,
Mhm.
that we're doing, and that sort of thing. And I hear a lot of terms thrown around like data quality. We've got to improve the data quality. Well, I don't disagree with that, but we
Right.
also have to know why we're doing it and how it
Why?
affects the body of
Yeah.
the work, you know, and having a great schema in the data warehouse or what have you, be it in third normal form or a great dimensional model.
Mhm.
That's all great, but we also have to go a step further and understand why we're doing the things we're doing. And so,
Yeah.
we do a lot of hard stuff like that. It's important that somebody on the team attends to all of these things that do matter as much as the technical work. And so we make sure that those things are accounted for as well.
Yeah, no, that's important. I would say before I started thinking about business objectives, I probably collected everything that you could possibly collect, right? When dealing with data, right? I just didn't care. Bring it all in the data lake. It doesn't matter. Make it a swamp. I don't
Mm.
care. but but as I continued to understand business, right? I started to clean things appropriate to the client I was working with, right? Understanding the domain a lot better, educating myself on if it's a student aspect, if it's sitting there, or we're talking about school systems, right? I don't, everything is not important. And then there's some things where one data set and data set A and data set B can probably form something that's important, but separately they're not important, right? But it's always talking to those stakeholders. That's probably the most important thing to do before making progress. So you made it. I mean, great points. So I do want to talk about how AI will significantly impact how organizations think about their data sources these days. I mean, going from
Yeah.
what you've been working on for several years, right, and the experience that you have in AI, right? You think about artificial intelligence, it has been applied successfully in, I mean, thousands of ways, right? But one of the less visible ways, in my opinion, and less dramatic ones, I guess, is really improving that data management portion, right? Thinking about classification, cataloging, data integration. I don't know. All these different things. How how is AI impacting those data resources out there?
Well, it's brought a lot more attention to data
Mhm.
because enterprises are realizing we need to get our data act together in order to achieve artificial intelligence. In order to do AI, you have to have great foundation of data because that's what the algorithms are going to work off of. And so,
True.
and today, I mentioned before, today there's no one size fits all, although a lot of the data that's interesting to AI is being put into what we call data lakes, which is basically cloud storage for lots and lots of largely unstructured, but all kinds of data for the
Mhm.
enterprise. It's not, it doesn't rub out the need for a data warehouse or two or three within the organization that's more relational, structured, alphanumeric, financial kind of data, what have you, more traditional type of data. But historically, we've let the other data go, the sensor data, the clickstream data, all this kind of data that was really too big to deal with. It hadn't been enough ROI there. And so now there is the ROI there. As a matter of fact, the other part of it, you're kind of expected to be doing as an enterprise and be doing that well. And now you need to do big data well in order to achieve artificial intelligence. So one thing that I always try to infuse into my clients is, the technology organization that's building all this stuff, it's not good enough that they've satisfied the stakeholders or they've satisfied the business. If the business isn't stepping up to what they could be doing, well, guess who really holds the keys to what that is? Usually it's a data management professional in the organization. It's that group. It's the people that know data that really should be part of driving the future of that business. And so I always say, try to get them on the business side to think more broadly about how to use the data. Because if they're just stuck in the past doing reports and dashboards and, the basics, they're never going to succeed as a business in the years to come unless they evolve that mindset.
No, you have really hit some serious nuggets right there. So in your opinion, when getting to this point, do you think, well, two things. Do you think that we have jumped the gun in a sense, right? We're focusing on AI, we're focusing on machine learning, where we're just because the way that the times are going, it's like it's getting faster and faster, man. We're just jumping so fast, and it's like I feel like sometimes, like slow down, man, slow down. How do you even secure this data prior to getting to that point? How do you even do governance prior to that point? Do you think that we're moving too fast?
No, I don't. I think that we use a maturity approach to this,
Mhm.
and every organization is at a certain maturity with their data, but they all need to get to a certain level of maturity in order to be competitive in the future. And we call that a 3 out of 5. And some organizations, some industries need that to be a 4 out of 5. And the thing is, though, the metrics for each level, they keep evolving. They keep changing quickly. And so if you're lagging behind and you're not moving forward, you're just going to stay further behind as artificial intelligence possibilities increase and increase. So, and you can't skip levels. You can't say, well, we're a basic, we just do reporting today. Oh, let's just jump into artificial intelligence and we'll
You're
be
right.
an company tomorrow. You've got to go through some maturity levels with data in order to get there. And you can get there fast, but you have to be mindful of the fact that you're moving forward and you have to actually do it and execute it well and get your data warehouses up, get your data lakes up, get your master data management in order, your data catalog, get data quality in there, get the users excited about the data and using the data, get some basic AI algorithms going, and then let it snowball from there.
Right. I truly believe that it takes patience, to be able to sit back and be at a green state or level or phase one, whatever you would call it, in it, and you have these phase like 10 goals, right? For your company, and you haven't even collected everything into one single central data lake, right? And for you to be able to even clean all the data, right? Even if you want to do it prior, using SQL, whatever it is, or you want to do it in a central location and then do visualization from some of that data that's no longer raw, using Power BI or Tableau or something, all that stuff is a process. With your company, right? Do you see a lot of times organizations being impatient, if you will?
I think many times organizations, they see a shiny new object like AI, and they might see, like at a conference, one of their competitors is doing something unique with with data. And
Right.
then they come back to
Like,
their
I want to do
company.
that.
Why can't we do that? Why can't we, improve our supply chain and get those cycles down to zero? Why can't we do that? Well, it's
Right.
because right now we're so far off from that, we can't even see that, because you've got
Yeah.
to take stepwise through that. So you have to go through your maturity levels, if you will, with everything. And that usually means you have to do something different with the data. You can't just keep using a traditional database for
Mhm.
everything. And you can't just say, okay, everybody that has a new need for data gets to create their own database, and that's just
Mhm.
how we're going to do it, because we can't expand our mind to centralize anything. Well, that's not going to
Right.
work. That's completely inefficient. And for a modern organization, you've got to become more efficient. And the way to do it is to create these leverageable shared assets within the enterprise, which have data that you build at once and you use it for many purposes. But that means
Yeah.
getting heads together within the enterprise and this thing we call governance. So it's a lot of work.
I know it is because you think about, I mean, every individual that's siloed organizations, those are the ones that are like, what, man, I don't, why do they need to know about this? Why don't you put it here? I'm doing
Yeah,
my own reporting, I'm doing my stuff here. And
so
then
true.
it's almost like you have to show them the end, right? The beauty of the end in order to persuade them and sell them on those little small steps. And I hate that, right? I hate that you have to actually show them so far ahead of the time just to know that step 1.1 or 1A or something is your next phase, right? And it's okay it may take 2 years or more to get to where you want to get to, but you have to start here. In order for me to show that you have to start here, I got to show you something so beautiful of what you can obtain if you start at this one little small goal, right?
Yeah, it's true. And you might have to work on their management too to loosen them up, because you might be actually, what you might be doing is targeting some bigger goals of the enterprise that
Mm,
they don't hold in a department, you know.
mm,
And so culture change could be a serious impediment to getting things
mhm.
done with data.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I want to end with these critical technologies, right? I know that you've been studying, you've done research, for many years, right? Um, what are some of those critical, if you can name one or two critical technologies and trends that will change the world in the next 10 years, what would be your top two, right? That that would change the world in the next 10 years?
Well, we've been talking about one of them, artificial intelligence. I know that's
Mm,
kind of broad, but the idea of artificial intelligence can do so much. And
yeah, I agree.
so I have to say that foundation for a lot of things, that's the culprit for massive change that we're all going to have in our lives, in our work, in everything, in the next decade, and for the rest of our lives, really. I see no de-escalation of progress, if you will, in this area. So artificial intelligence, number one. And if I'm going to number two, maybe genetic modification.
Mm,
Mm,
yeah, yeah, I do like that. Like genome, things like that,
yeah,
genomic. I mean, I've definitely worked with some people on some of those projects. That's been going on for a few years, and like I think really
yeah,
it's going to. You're right. In the next 10 years, it has to be something that is changed because they're putting so many resources into it that it has to be something that's making a big difference and impact, on things. I even thought about I mean, of course, we are past the connecting and smart everything, right? We're getting into like it's almost like if you don't have a home that has some type of smart connection, right? You're kind of behind the times. Not unless you just don't want to do anything, right? You're not open to improvement and technology, but maybe like extended reality, like the metaverse and all that stuff. Is
mm, yeah,
it's like it's going to either I feel like it's like cryptocurrency, right? You know, it was all going to be a part of everything, but it's like it's going to either fail or not. You know, I don't know, but I feel like, you know, it's going to be a
I,
big impact or change. You know, somehow.
I think those are keepers too, but
Yeah.
there may be, a step backwards before there's two steps forward with big change like that. And I think that's
Yeah.
what we're kind of going through right now with the metaverse. But I think it'll rebound and it'll definitely be there, especially as artificial intelligence begins to reshape our work lives.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
metaverse will be there as an outlet.
Right. Right. Absolutely. All right. So it is time, William, to have a little bit of fun. Okay. We're going to
Okay.
dive into a game, and I appreciate you being on here to really educate us on everything that's going on. The McKnight Consulting Group. You know, we delved a little bit into AI. We talked a little bit technical. We geeked it out a little bit. We talked about some business stuff, right, as well at a certain level because business analysis, business is probably one of the most important portions of it that a lot of people forget about. Now it's time to have some fun, right? So everybody knows I like that. Play a game called Overrated, Underrated, and it's really a game that allows the audience to know that we do geek it out a lot of time. 90+% of the time we geek it out, but there's a 1% in there where we do have opinions about regular stuff, right? About cereal, about cheese, about a couch. I don't know, right? And I want the audience to know that even though we're geeks, we've been doing this for years. We love the industry of technology, right? We think about it in our dreams sometimes. Our
Mhm.
significant others probably are upset with us because that's all we do, right? But we do think about some normal stuff in some of the audience's eyes, you know. So what I want to do is give you a chance to decide whether you think it is overrated, underrated, or right where it needs to be. I'm going to throw about 7 to 8 topics at you, and you get to decide that. You get to elaborate on it if you want. If not, that's fine. We'll keep it moving. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All
Three
right.
choices
Historic downtown Plano.
here. Probably overrated.
Oh, straight from Plano, man. Overrated, overrated. Why? What's going on out there, man?
There's other parts of Plano too.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. It's amazing because when I did my research on Plano, I only say this audience because William's from Plano, and so you know you want to get insight from where everybody's from and what their thoughts on are on things. But I didn't know that was a huge sort of industry on building businesses, man, or tech businesses, things like that. It was
Yeah,
amazing.
it's become this. Yeah, Plano Frisco. It's just
Yeah,
become a real
that's what they
hotbed
call
for
it.
companies moving here. Plano, no, Frisco's the town just north of here.
Oh, okay, okay. I was like, Plano Frisco. Are they trying to mimic
No,
Grand
no,
Theft?
no, no.
Okay,
It's
okay.
kind of like
All
that.
right.
We're getting some tech, we're getting a lot of companies in here.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Skittles, the candy.
Ooh, that's good stuff. Underrated.
I would say I love some Skittles. I don't get it unless my kids get it or I'm trying to get it for them. But I mean, I used to go overdosing on Skittles, man. You know, I love them so much, you know, and then I just started to fall away from it. But every once in a while, when I go into the store, I see Skittles right in there. And you know how they don't just have the plain ones anymore, right? They got the tropical
Mm,
ones,
mm.
you know, a little bit of passion fruit or something. You know, they're just so enticing. And it's nothing like a good Skittle to me, man. You know, so
Yeah, watch
all right.
out.
Hardcover books.
Oh, underrated. That's a great
Oh,
way to spend evenings reading and learning. I love to read, and a
uh,
hardcover, man, that's just where it's at. It's just the bomb. I mean, I definitely read a lot of e,
uh,
e-readers stuff too because it's just so convenient. But when I can have the time, I guess, to get a hardcover in here, I love
uh.
that.
Do you enjoy Audible books? as well, or?
You know what? I'm listening to a lot of Audible book summaries
I didn't
now,
know they got
and
those really.
oh yeah, well, Blinkist is what I use, and
Okay.
if I'm enjoying the summary, I might get the whole book, but that allows me to get the main parts in 15 minutes, and I really like that. Yeah, so I don't have to think a lot about should I spend the hours reading this book or not. It's not going to be hours. Just go ahead. So I really like that.
No, I definitely download. I mean, I'm going to download that ASAP. All right, graduate school.
Well, I went, and I think it helps. So I know a lot of people will put it down, but I'm going to say underrated because I think it helped me structure some things. I got an MBA, by the way, not in computer
Mhm.
science, but it helped me structure, my thoughts around business at the time. And I know I have it, so I guess it's a confidence booster or whatnot. So I'm going to say, yeah, if you have the chance, go get it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, I wish that I did an MBA instead of going to get my master's in cybersecurity at the time. Mainly because when I started diving into business and really focus on business, I didn't have that foundation, right? And everybody wants to own their own business. Well, not everybody, but some people are just not. That's not for them. But I do feel like with my background, knowing that I love the business aspect of things, I wish I went back. I mean, if I could go back, I probably would have swapped that, and then I still would have went into like a data science PhD or something later if I could. But definitely the MBA is valuable. I think diving deeper into any passion that you have and you want. I agree. Graduate school helps you do that, right? Kind of helps you dive into it and become that specialist or SME at something like that. So
That's right.
all right, all right. Two more things. The printer.
The printer. Anymore, I'd say it's overrated. I got a printer over there, but most days it just sits, anymore. Just gotten used to electronic everything. And so I definitely use it way less than I used to. I'm going to say
Yeah,
overrated.
I do too. It's like the time that you have to use it and you have no other choice. I am pissed off. I mean, I'm actually
Uh,
overly pissed off, right? I start talking about it to the missus, man. I start, complaining about it to the kids, and they're thinking, what are you even upset about? That's how overrated I think it is. I'm like, if everybody needs to go digital, why are you forcing me to do this printer thing, at any point in my life? It's to the point where you need to make a decision to change that over in your company, and it's funny that they still ask for that on certain occasions, right? Depending on the company, depending on who you're working with, um, but it is bothering me, to a certain extent.
yeah. That and filing. I don't like filing either. The
Yeah.
physical
Oh my goodness.
over
Yeah, yeah, overrated, man. All right, last one. Pizza.
pizza. Ooh, underrated.
Oh,
Love me
yeah,
some
yeah.
pizza. I'm getting
What's a
hungry
good pizza
just
for
thinking
you, man? What's a good
about
pizza?
well, okay, so for me it's veggie.
Uh-huh.
So I'll get all veggie, no onion or nothing, just Neapolitan. Just the
Mm.
idea of the cheese, sauce, and the crust. That works for me.
Yeah, yeah. I can do all veggie. I do the onions. I like the mushroom. Love the mushroom. I just can't do the olives, man. I don't know what it is about
Mm.
olives, man. But it's funny because
Yeah.
the missus, she loves olives. She'll just kill it, right?
Mm. Well, and now she can go to the olive bars and get all kinds of olives. Apparently,
Right.
I don't really like them that much myself either, though. So I feel you on that.
No, no, no. But look, William, thank you. I appreciate you being on the podcast. Audience, this is the Data is My Science podcast, a show that makes data a passion. I'm your host, Dapper Data. Where can they reach you at, William? And is there anything that you are promoting right now?
Just reach me through the website. McKnight CG stands for Consulting Group. There it is, McKnightCG.com. And you can learn all about our services, our research, presentations that are upcoming and available, and everything to do with us there. That's
Yeah,
it.
well, thank you, William. And there's also something that I wanted to point out. I didn't mention this earlier because you've been an author of a couple books now. One of the books that I just purchased, right, 90 Days to Success in Consulting.
Mm,
I literally just purchased it about a day ago or hours ago
mhm,
from Amazon. Please, definitely, to me, I would say check it out because
mhm,
I've heard, I looked at a couple good reviews, but I also have an interest in consulting. I talk about it all the time. I talk about it about Instagram, things like that. And this seemed like it's going to be a valuable book because of the extent of his history that he's had as well. So, audience, I'll definitely be able to let you know my thoughts on it. It'll be great reviews, I'm sure. William is a great person and also very knowledgeable on his craft. So I definitely want to go out and check that book out. I would say follow me on that. Maybe we can do a reading or something where we can have discussion topics on that as well, audience. And always, as you all always know, you can reach me at Mr. Dapper Data or any one of the social media platforms: Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, you name it. And definitely subscribe to the Data is My Science podcast at www.youtube.com/@ Dapper Data. That's DAPPER DATA. Love you all. Peace.